All right, Georgina, Matt, I'm going to give you this one. Talk to me about the freehold market here in Georgina and what we're starting to see over there, because
So
not bad. We need to
it's
we
not
need to
bad at
correct this
all,
color here just real quick. This
and
should
let's
be
let's fix
red.
that up.
Yeah.
Um, so actually, that is red. For a second there, I was like, "Damn, they went up 6%."
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, they were down about 6% month
Yeah.
over month, and then year over year 10.4%, which is one of the biggest ones we've seen today. So
Definitely. Yeah.
there was it was a tough month, month over month for them, even with 47.7% increase in the transactions. So you know what? I thought that they were trending in the right direction. Um, but last month was a tough one for the Georgina market, that's for sure. And new listings was up 20.3%. It didn't outstrip the transaction volume. Termination volume, though, I think we're really close to where we should be, right at 2.7.
Yeah.
So it's
This has got to be the
showing that,
lowest we've seen.
yeah. And even when you look year over year, it's actually a negative
Down. That we
at
haven't seen. We haven't seen that at all.
at 8.5, right? So the
Yeah.
pricing's in there. I'm going to assume that likely more smaller homes sold in this market, and that's why we're seeing the 5.9%.
Yeah.
Um, but I
I
think
agree.
prices in this area are reflecting where buyers are willing to pay. Um, I just think it's likely smaller homes that changed hands, which drove it down the 5.9%, which then also affected the year over year to quite a bit of degree as well.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's part of the challenge with us when we're looking at these stats is because our sample sizes are getting so small, just with the amount of units selling. It doesn't always tell the whole story when we look at that median price. It does its best to kind of keep it as apples to apples as we can and remove some outliers. But um, if the bulk of these were smaller homes, then that's why you would see that median price come down, because we're seeing other indicators here that show a much healthier market than what that 6% drop would indicate.
Yeah.
New listing volume, we're creeping up high. I'd say we're not right in the mix of what we would usually be. We're a little bit more to the high side there as we're seeing
Yeah.
new listings entering in. And when we look at that, it does equate to a pretty high active listing amount in comparison to other freehold markets that we've been watching. So they are creeping up in comparison to previous years. And that sales volume about the same. We're still below basically everything other than 2020. I think it is there. So
It is a nice uptick in the sales volume compared to a lot of other places we're
it,
seeing that are very
no
flat line
doubt.
and stable.
Yeah,
That's a
agreed.
nice uptick because it was a very flat year for sales there, and so the nice uptick was good to see. But I will say, with the updated data from this year or for this month, that Georgina's starting to struggle a little bit more than I thought they might have
Yeah.
with the new data points that are out.
Fair to say. And I mean, here's that with that decrease we saw there, they're well now under the 2021 number in
Yeah.
comparison. We're at 775 in comparison to 846,000 at the time. So these guys have rolled under. I could see this kind of leveling out, hopefully,
I
but
think so. I wouldn't want to call it until I saw next month's data. If next month's data is worse than this, then there's a problem in
then there's a
Georgina.
problem. Yeah,
Yeah,
agreed.
I think you look at the last 846, 883, 880, 865, and then all of a sudden we're at 775. I
Yeah.
think just smaller homes traded hands. I'd be interesting to see that it probably gets back up to the 865 or 850, 860 range.
Yeah. Yeah. I'd feel comfortable with that. Even low eights, I'd be okay with
Even though
seeing that
it's, yeah.
change. Yeah. And let's take a look at the months of inventory. We're sitting at 5.3 months there. And so it's, we've been going up and then finding and then coming back up and down. So that's where we're sitting right now. Still very comfortable into balance, leaning a little bit more towards buyers specifically for how we evaluate those months of inventory. So all good stuff. All right.